Hello everyone, and welcome to Break Time with Pastor V. Good Wednesday afternoon to you. I pray that things are going well, and I thank you for joining us this afternoon. God has been good. Amen. And as you get on, don't forget to say hello and let us know where you're listening from. And it is good to see you. And it's hump day, right? Just need a little bit of hump to get over to the end of the week. Hey sis, I see you. Pat, thank you for joining us this afternoon. And I know it, gosh, if it's hot here, it must be really hot where you are out there in the, is that high desert still? But anyway, I know it's hot. Hey, but anyway, thank you all for being here. I have something for us today that I really hope will be an encouragement to you. Don't forget, Break Time is designed for 10 to 15 minutes to be an encouragement to you. If you've missed any of our break times, you can go back and watch them right here on Facebook, or you can go to our YouTube channel, and most of them are there as well. And our YouTube channel is youtube.com/Zion Temple. That's youtube.com/Zion Temple. In the meantime, go ahead and like it here and share it with a friend. So, today, I want to talk about something I'm just going to entitle it called Principles of Pursuing Your Mission. Principles of Pursuing Your Mission. Now, when I think about mission, I'm going to give you some parameters so that to help you clear up what isn't your mission. Your mission, if your mission is from God, then I can tell you some basic principles. One, your mission is not about you. Amen. Joyce, Emma, good to see you. Your mission is not about you. It's not only is it not about you when you're following God's mission for you, it's bigger than you. If you're following the mission that God has for you, trust me, it is bigger than you. It's not about you. It's bigger than you. And the third quality of all missions that are come from God, that they involve serving. Yes, it's not about you. It's bigger than you, and it involves serving. And so today, keep those three qualities in mind. If you're involved in pursuing something, and if you ask yourself, is this about me? Is what I'm doing about me? Is it just because it makes me feel good, or is it for my prosperity? Then I'm going to challenge you to reevaluate and see. Now, I'm not saying those things cannot be a part of the results of pursuing God's mission for you, but it is not driven by that if it's God's mission. Is your mission bigger than you? Meaning, is it something that you can accomplish in and of yourself? Do you need other people? Do you need miraculous strength? Do you need a resource that's bigger than you to accomplish it? If you do, then more than likely, it's characteristic of what God has for you. God never calls us to do what we can do. It's always greater than what we can do, because why? It forces us to depend upon Him. And thirdly, if you're asking yourself, is my mission involving serving others? Is what I'm doing or what I'm pursuing a ministry to other people? If it's not God's mission for you. Ouch, I know that might be tight. So, here's some qualities and some principles that you're going to need. I want to suggest to you as you follow God's mission. I was looking earlier at Matthew 14. Now, in Matthew 14, when we get here, the disciples have just finished feeding 5,000 men and plus women and children, and they with a few fish and some loaves of bread, and they've seen it multiply. It is miraculous. So, of course, they were on a high after seeing that, after experiencing that. And then in verse 22, it says, straightway, Jesus told his disciples to get into it says that he constrained his disciples to get into a ship and go before him to the other side while he sent the multitudes away. So now, their mission involved, their goal was to get to the other side, right? And so that was what he called them to do. Now, he went another way. He sent them away, and it says that he constrained them. Here's one of the first things about your mission. First of all, don't mistake your current situation whether it's good or bad, with your destination. Let me say that again. Don't mistake your current situation, whether good or bad, with your destination. In fact, wherever you are right now is not the end. It is not the final destination of what God has in store for you. This is a season. This is, you may be at a place that's good. It may be a place that's bad. But I can guarantee you it is not God's final destination or final area for you to be involved in. Why? Because you're still alive. You're still breathing. And as long as you're alive, God still has purpose and design for you to minister to other people. So, first rule of principle in principle of pursuing your mission, don't get it twisted. Don't mistake your current situation, whether it's good or bad, for your destination. Second thing to note is that the principle is obedience is required to begin your journey. Obedience is required to begin your journey. In other words, if God has given you a mission, he's given you a purpose, you're going to have to agree. You're going to have to say, okay, God, I'm going on this thing that's bigger than me, right? It involves serving other people, and it's not about me. And so you're going to have to say yes to God's vision, yes to God's mission for you. So obedience is required. And we see right there in that verse, Matthew 14:22, for those of you just joining, that Jesus constrained them. He had to... I don't want to say force, but he had to persuade them to get into the ship and go to the other side, and without him. And so I'm sure they were like, well, where are you going? What are you doing? Right? Those were our natural things. Well, why am I going? He says, go to the other side. And then you notice that he stayed there, and then instead of going, he went away and had time alone with God himself. Another principle that you can do. So first we have, don't mistake your mission with your destination. Secondly, obedience is required to begin your journey. Third, expect opposition. Expect opposition. They got into the ship. Jesus went the other way. They won't see Jesus for hours. And I'm going to show you how I got that. Because they left, it was still daytime. It wasn't night. They got into the ship. It was evening. And then the next time they hear from Jesus, when they see him, it is somewhere between 3 and 6 in the morning. They called it the fourth watch. And then, not only that, they get into the ship. They're doing what Jesus had told them to do, to go to the other side on their journey, right? But then there's a storm right in the middle of it. There's storm arises, and Jesus is not there. Have you ever been in a storm and it felt like, I didn't say it was true, but it felt like Jesus wasn't there? You're praying, seems like he's not answering. Come on, somebody be real with me. If you ever done this, say been there, done that. If that's you, you're praying, you don't seem to get an answer. You're praying, you don't feel the emotion of him being there. You don't feel his closeness. Now you know it logically in your mind. You know his promises, but you don't feel it. You don't sense it. Well, the disciples watched Jesus go another way while they went into this place and on this journey into the ship, and there arose a storm in the middle of it. Here's another principle in pursuing your journey. Your past experiences are not enough in and of themselves to guarantee you success in fulfilling the mission that God has called for you. Wow. Your past experiences are not enough in and of themselves, right, to guarantee success in fulfilling the mission that God has for you. Why? Because the mission that God has for you, again, it's always bigger than the human. They're always bigger than the human that's called to execute the mission. And so you're going to need not your past, not your own things that you've learned, not your own ability that brought you success in some area. You're going to need God's power, God's strength, God's wisdom to fulfill the mission that God has for you. And that's okay, because it's not about who, it's not about me, it's not about you. It involves serving others, and it's always bigger than you. Here's another principle. Principle number 5. Remember that God sees you in the middle of your struggle. God saw them. In fact, Jesus saw them. It says that he saw them in the storm. He wasn't there initially, but he saw them. He knew. He was aware of exactly what was going on. He knew that he told them to get into the ship, to go to the other side. He went and spent time alone with God into a desert place, and yet he knew, he was aware of where they are. God's got you. When you're fulfilling and living this principle of a mission that God has for you, God's got you. In fact, if you believe that, go ahead and type in the words, God's got me. God's got me. I pray that you'll know that. You might not feel that, but know that God has you. God's got you. The sixth thing, in fact, let me see. Mark 6:48 says, and he saw them toiling and rowing, and the wind was contrary to them. That's another thing. Expect opposition. It says that the wind was contrary to them. They were doing what Jesus told them to do, and yet the wind was contrary to them. So expect opposition when you're fulfilling the call that God has on your life. And here's the sixth thing. Be willing to push past the fear and apprehension. I get it. It's bigger than you. You don't have the resources. And if you're like me, you're like, well, what if it doesn't work? If you're a perfectionist, and you want it just right, you have to have success. You don't do things that you don't succeed at, or that there aren't chances for you succeeding at, and the odds may be stacked against you. But listen, be willing to push past the apprehension, push past the fear of it not working, push past the fear of the circumstances, push past the fear of the situation. Here's principle number 7. Only those who will take a leap of faith will experience the miraculous during the process. Wow. Only those that will take the leap of faith will experience the miraculous during the process. Yeah. Hey, Des, good to see you, sweetie. Peter, now all the disciples were on this ship, right? Jesus comes to them. He's coming, walking on water, and it says that they were all afraid. Only one person says, Lord, if it's you, bid me to come to you. I'm not Peter. I would have been like, oh, no. Now, talking about pushing past the apprehension, pushing past the fear, everything in Peter's past, everything in the disciples' past says humans do not walk on water. They knew they were in a ship. They knew the ship was in the water. They knew that they'd either have to swim or sink if they got in the water, right? Don't be afraid to push past the fear and apprehension. Only those who push past experience the miraculous. Peter, Lord, if it's you, bid me to come. Jesus says, come. And Peter, he failed, but he's still the only one who ever walked on water. Guess what? When he failed, why did he fall? Because he took his eyes off of Jesus. And did the Lord let him drown? No. As my grandma say, he reached down and got Peter as he was sinking. But yet Peter's the only one that could say, I know that it's possible to walk on water when you do what God's called you to do. Everyone else can say, I saw it happen. Peter says, it happened to me. So don't be afraid. So there are some principles of experiencing or following the vision or the mission or ministry that God has for you. Let me recap them. Now, every vision, every mission that God has 3 characteristics that you should notice. That's not about you. It's bigger than you, and it involves serving. First thing you want to do is not to mistake where you are, your current situation, for your destination. It's not that. Secondly, remember that obedience is required to begin your journey. Thirdly, expect opposition. Fourthly, your past experiences are not enough to guarantee your success. And why? Because the mission's always going to be greater than you. 5, remember that God sees you in the middle of your storm. He's got you. 6, be willing to push past the fear. And 7, remember, only those who push past the fear, only those who take the leap of faith will be able to experience the miraculous during the journey of experiencing or pursuing their mission or their call. God bless you. Thank you for spending break time with Pastor V. I see we went a little over 15 minutes today, but I pray that it's good. Don't forget to like it and share it with somebody else. Have a great day. Bless you.